Welcome to Thriver TV, the place to break free from narcissistic abuse with quantum tools and understandings. One of the most terrifying things about a breakdown with a narcissist is that you have no idea how it will end up. Emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially, you've been smashed. You know that if you stay, you will continue getting ripped to pieces despite all of your efforts to make it otherwise. You know that if you leave, that things could get even worse. You may be facing court battles for property, businesses, resources, and even your children. The narcissist might have already seized control and ownership of many things, threatening you with how horrible they can make your life in the future. Your outcome looks bleak, but is it? That question is what today's episode is all about. Before I get started, I'd like to thank you for subscribing to my channel and for supporting the Thriver mission, which is about a true solution to heal from narcissistic abuse. And also remind you that if you haven't yet subscribed, please do. Okay, so on with today's episode. I want to talk about how the mind perceives this. When you're in the throes of narcissistic abuse, looking at the devastation of your world around you, absolutely you feel powerless. And it feels like you don't have the health, sanity, and resources left to go on with. Additionally, it seems like other people don't get it, aren't being supportive, and are not holding the narcissist accountable. They may even believe that you are the problem. To add insult to injury, commonly legal personnel in the court system aren't helping you either. Things absolutely are bad, and no matter where you look, there is no logical, physical proof that things can get better. Yet there is a deeper possibility of resurrection here that you may have never come into contact with yet. And that is really normal because we've all been separated from our innate power, which is to know yourself as the creative, generative force of your experience. We've been programmed to look to the outside world to try to get our answers and our power there instead. I so know what it's like to be in this place, as I know many of you have or still do. And it's completely typical of the breakdown of narcissistic abuse, and it's 100% understandable. However, I want you to know that it doesn't have to be this way. This is happening because you haven't yet done the journey from the mind into the body to become the true creator of your future. And here is the divine dichotomy with this. When feeling traumatized and out of control, this is exactly the time when you need to make that shift the most, and it's the time when it's the hardest to do it. Let me explain. When traumatized, the mind is energized. In narcissistic abuse breakdown, the trauma is off the charts. You're lucky to be able to make yourself a cup of tea, let alone formulate a way to survive, break away, and successfully rebuild your life. Of course, you are terrified about what the future holds. You feel horribly unsafe in the present, and the horrific things in the past haunt you. Why would you have hope for the future? Please let me explain to you the way your mind works, so that you can understand why it is virtually impossible to think your way into a positive outcome. Your brain is following your body. The trauma that has infiltrated you and is now literally inside you, smashing your inner being, has a life of its own. This produces the intensely hijacking chemicals of fight and flee. Once upon a time, adrenaline and cortisol were incredibly effective to force blood and energy to your limbs to be able to run up a tree to get away from a predator. It was designed as a short-term solution that when the threat disappeared, your system could reset to normal. In the extreme trauma of narcissistic abuse, this isn't happening because of the unpredictability, the pathology, toxicity, and the life-sucking aspects of narcissistic abuse. You are constantly in trauma. And this means other critical processes within you are starved of nutrients and energy. Things like the ability to think straight, calmly, and solidly. Your immune system is also depleted, and this can make you very sick. When you're in constant trauma, you've become a lesser, more ineffectual being. And please know this is not your fault at all. It's just the truth. What this means is planning, finding solutions, and the ability to inspire and generate support with familiars and authorities is seriously compromised. And this is why most people in the devastating breakdown of narcissistic abuse fare very badly. The narcissist often wins, leaving you stripped bare and even more traumatized. It's awful, but again, it doesn't need to be this way. How can your future not end up on the scrap pile of life after being desecrated by a narcissist? This is how. By doing the switch to putting your body in charge so that your brain can follow. What does that mean? I can't wait to help you understand this because it's everything regarding your future outcome. So let's have a look at the difference between being and thinking. I really want you to understand the meaning of the word become. It means that if you be it, then it will come. It's vital to understand being something does not mean thinking something. It means being something. I want you to feel the word being as opposed to thinking. Can you feel the word being as being in your body, in your visceral? Meaning it is anchored inside you, which means it just is. It's who you are being. It's who you are. Now let's think about thinking. When you're thinking something, it's a concept. It's in your head, but it hasn't yet transferred down into your being. It's not who you are being yet, it's just what you're thinking. To distinguish between the two is very important because this has everything to do with your future and how your life is going to unfold for you. If you are thinking about what you want and you're not yet anchored in the solid wholeness of your being in your body, then no matter what you think, it's not going to become your life. Many of you may know that I'm not a fan of the principles of law of attraction. The idea is great, but there are so many components missing, especially for people who've suffered high levels of trauma. There is no way that you are going to be able to hold the thoughts of the visualizations of positive and incredible things happening in your life, such as ample money, a new home, people who love and support you, and a wonderful intimate partner after you've been smashed to pieces. The trauma is just too big. There is too much adrenaline and cortisol. There are far too many unhealed inner traumas that you haven't yet freed yourself from, which are causing you to think in ways that completely match that trauma, rather than be able to move into an empowered knowing of the future. There is the constant battle with these internal traumas just by trying to survive them and overcome them. The only way to truly overcome extreme trauma is to turn inwards and do the work directly in your inner being. Then you can go free from these traumas and automatically you will start thinking differently. Let's explore the truth about your beingness. When you are dedicated to releasing your trauma, you will find that your beingness was underneath the rubble of the trauma all along. This is your true essence, which is already unconditionally self-loving, self-accepting, and able to honor yourself in life. This is the true you who with so much less effort knows how to be self-generative and make your life work, regardless of what you've been through or what you've lost. The activation of your true beingness is probably what you've been trying to get from outside of yourself frenetically. For decades, I was doing the same until I turned inwards and realized that it already existed within me. Before this shift, that is everything, we are usually trying to put the getting with the thinking in front of the being. I used to believe, while stuck in my trauma, that if I just tried hard enough to visualize the resurrection of my finances and a new home, loving, supportive people, and a wonderful, intimate partner, that somehow I would be able to land up there. It didn't work. Why? Because I was attaching all of my beingness to these outcomes. It made me stay clinging in my destructive marriage. A big part of me didn't want to let go unless I was somehow able to create these things straight away. I believed that my very inner identity, my beingness, relied on these things. It certainly didn't. I didn't realize until I let go, turned inwards with total self-dedication and self-love, finally realizing that the healing of my beingness was everything. Not the beingness of being able to hold visualizations of money, home, people, and a partner, rather simply the self-partnering into wholeness with my being. I had no idea what that would bring, other than know I needed to do it. To my delight, what started to arise very quickly was feelings of inspiration, awakening, wisdom, joy, love, appreciation, energy, health, and every other positive emotion you could possibly experience. None of this was artificial. None of this was produced from things outside of me. It just arose from within. And I noticed people and situations started to gravitate around me to support me. The most crazy good things started to happen. Incredible synchronicity and support bringing me whatever I needed, appearing literally out of thin air. Why? Because I was self-partnered and life had then started to partner me profoundly. This is our natural, organic beingness without trauma. I promise you with all my heart. That's the alchemy. That's the power. That's the shift. What do you think your future will be from this place? Do you think that you need any particular future in order to feel okay? Or do you believe that you have an open heart connected to astounding resources to magnificently create and enjoy and love the journey? I know of so many thrivers, including myself, who have created the most incredible outcomes that are continually unfolding every day. I'm proud to say I've absolutely no idea of my ultimate outcome and destination. And so many of us came from narcissistic abuse devastation where it was virtually deemed impossible for us to ever make a comeback. But I promise you, from a place of deep devotion and dedication to your beingness, as a result of releasing your trauma, you will know yourself as an unlimited being. Maybe today's Thriver TV episode is one that you'll need to watch a few times to absorb these quantum truths. Or maybe they hit home straight away. If this does hit home, I want you to pause the video and write below, I totally get it. Okay, so I'd love you to truly anchor this in as beingness rather than it just remaining as a concept to consider. The way I can help you get that shift is in my free webinar, and you can come and join me in that process by clicking the link at the top right of this video. And as always, I look forward to answering your comments and your questions below. So keep smiling, keep healing, and keep thriving, because there's nothing else to do. Lots of love. Bye-bye.